I used to be a wife, a mother, a woman who believed her secrets could stay buried beneath soft sheets and silent smiles. I never thought the day would come when the very man I had pledged my life to would look me in the eyes, not with anger, not even with sadness, but with quiet finality, and walk away already armed with the truth I had worked so hard to conceal. To everyone listening right now, thank you. Your presence here matters. If you're already subscribed, thank you for being part of this journey. And if you're new or returning but haven't yet joined the family, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Your support breathes life into stories like this. Stories not just written in words, but carved from scars. My name is Maggie Simmons. I'm 43 years old. And this is the story of how I lost everything I once thought was untouchable. Not because I got caught in the act, but because I underestimated the quiet strength of the man I once called my husband.
How it all began.
I met Greg in the summer of 2004. He was the kind of man who held doors open, pulled out chairs at dinner, and fixed your car before you even knew it was broken. Reliable.
Steady.
Maybe even a little too predictable. We got married in 2006 and moved into a warm, two-story home on a quiet street in Columbus, Ohio, the kind of neighborhood with bird feeders, dog walkers, and Sunday barbecues. For nearly 17 years, we lived what most would call a model marriage. 2 children. A Labrador named Rusty. PDA meetings. Date nights every second Friday. From the outside, we had it all. But under that perfect rhythm, something began to stir in me. I couldn't name it, but it lived beneath my skin. A slow-burning itch that routine couldn't reach. And then came Eli. The first lie. Eli worked at the same marketing firm I joined once the kids were older. He was everything Greg wasn't: sharp, spontaneous, younger. He lived with an edge that made me feel noticed.
Desired.
Powerful. Like I could still turn heads. It started small. Playful banter at the coffee machine. Then lunch breaks. Then long text conversations. Then lies. It began on a rainy January evening, January 13th, 2023. I told Greg I had a work conference. Instead, I met Eli at a hotel on the edge of town. That night, something inside me broke. But it wasn't guilt, it was a twisted sense of freedom. Or so I told myself. What I didn't realize was that Greg had already started watching. The Watcher. He came home earlier than usual. Started doing the laundry, something he never offered to do before. I thought it was sweet until I noticed he always pulled out my clothes first. One day, I caught him holding my phone in the kitchen. He said he was just checking the weather app. Still, I believed I had control. I believed I held the upper hand. March arrived. The affair deepened. Eli and I were meeting once, sometimes twice a week. He'd pick me up around the corner so Greg wouldn't see it on the Ring camera. But then came April 2nd. The turning point. It was 8:35 p.m. I walked in from what Greg believed was yoga class. I still smelled like Eli's cologne. It clung to my jacket like a scarlet letter. Greg was sitting in the living room. Lights off. No TV. Just staring into the darkened window. I tried to act normal. "Hey babe, was dinner good?" I asked casually. He looked at me. Not with anger. Not with ice. Just a blank, unreadable stare. Then he stood, picked up his car keys, and walked out the door. No words. No explanation. I stood frozen. That was not Greg. He never left without saying something. My heart raced. Did he know? Was this it? But the house was silent. No messages. No calls. Just a terrible stillness. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not from guilt, but from fear. Deep fear. Maybe I hadn't been as clever as I thought. And soon, I would learn I wasn't the only one hiding secrets. The envelope. A week passed. Greg never mentioned that night. He was distant. His phone, once left on the kitchen counter, never left his pocket. He ate less, slept less, spoke less. When I asked what was wrong, he'd say, "Just work." But I knew. I felt it. Something had broken. The affair continued, but I became more cautious. Burner apps. Cash payments. Deleted histories. I even changed hotels. But a voice inside kept whispering, he already knows. On April 9th at exactly 10:48 a.m., as I was folding laundry, Greg placed a manila envelope on the table in front of me. His hands were steady. I filed, he said. I blinked. What?
Divorce.
You'll be hearing from my attorney. His tone was flat, emotionless. I stood there, holding one of our son's t-shirts, unable to move. He turned, walked away, didn't look back. When I finally opened the envelope, I found not just divorce papers, typed, signed, notarized, but something else. A flash drive. I plugged it into my laptop. And that's when everything unraveled. The footage. The first clip was from our bedroom. Our marital bed. Grainy. Time-stamped. Undeniable. There I was, with Eli. Laughing. Touching. Undressing. I slammed the laptop shut, my hands trembling. How had Greg gotten this? When had he installed a camera? Where was it hidden? The second video. Inside Greg's car. Me and Eli again. My heart raced. My lungs closed. I was drowning in my own shame. I called Greg. No answer. I texted. I emailed. I begged. Still nothing. That night, I called his brother. And that's when I learned the truth. Greg had hired a private investigator. A professional. Someone trained to uncover the truth without setting off alarms. He had suspected me for months. Hotel receipts. Unfamiliar cologne. Shaving patterns. Small details I thought I could hide. He had cameras in the vents. GPS tracking on my phone. Remote access to my cloud backups, even after I changed the password. He had seen everything. And he never once confronted me. The fallout. I tried to contact Eli.
Blocked.
The office changed. People whispered. Eyes followed me in silence. But Greg? He didn't make a single post. Didn't spread a single rumor. He let the evidence speak. That week, our kids went to stay with Greg's mother. I didn't argue. I didn't even call them. I couldn't bear to hear their voices. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. My thoughts screamed so loudly, I could barely breathe. And I knew Greg wasn't just planning revenge. He was preparing to end me, quietly, legally, completely. The courtroom. The sky was gray as I stood outside the courthouse. My stomach twisted. My hands trembled. It felt like attending my own funeral. Only the coffin held my name, my family, my identity. I had begged Greg to settle. Sent long apologies. Offered therapy, mediation, anything. But he never replied. Now here I stood, in a black suit, makeup masking the storm beneath my skin. Greg stood across the room, calm.
Composed.
Focused. Our attorneys spoke. Mine pleaded sympathy, a woman under emotional pressure who made a mistake. Greg's lawyer didn't speak much. Just handed a USB drive to the judge. Silence. The judge inserted it into the courtroom monitor. And just like that, my betrayal played across the screen. Bedroom.
Car.
Hotel hallway. Clip after clip. Silence so deep, you could hear the softest gasp. The judge's face changed. His mouth tightened. His eyes narrowed. And then he went pale. He paused the footage. Mrs. Simmons, he asked gently, how long has this been going on? I couldn't speak. My voice had vanished. Greg's lawyer answered. Since January, Your Honor. Mr. Simmons gathered evidence to protect the children. He chose documentation over confrontation. My lawyer tried to interrupt, but it was over. There was nothing to argue. The judgment. Greg stood like a statue, no gloating, no triumph. Just resolve. The judge granted him primary custody. I was ordered to vacate the home within 30 days. Any chance of alimony was denied. My reputation shattered. I walked out of that courtroom into the cool wind and just stood there. Empty. Hollow. I had believed I was discreet, that I was in control. But Greg never had to shout, never had to rage. He let the truth speak. And the truth screamed louder than anything I could have imagined. Aftermath. Now I live in a small apartment across town. The kids visit every other weekend, but it's never the same. I see it in their eyes. The hurt, the confusion. I go to therapy. I avoid mirrors. Sometimes I replay the courtroom footage in my mind. Not the videos, but the judge's face. Because that was the moment I realized I hadn't just cheated. I had betrayed the one man who loved me fully, quietly, and without condition. And he didn't destroy me with fury. He simply let the truth breathe. And the truth? It finished what my lies began.